Hi, this is Rajiv Ghosh from Principal Analyst at ET Prime.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Janendra Anand, CEO, Revolt Motors.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Narasimha Prasad. I'm Chief of Manufacturing at Procuring.
So we can begin with Mr. Anand. I would like to know that what are the challenges that the manufacturers are facing when they are trying to procure EV components, and if you can share what are the key components that are the hardest to find, and especially in India.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. I must say, a very interesting question, because actually the EV manufacturers are facing lots of challenges as far as the parts procurement is concerned. And I hope most of us are aware that if we compare the EV components or EV vehicle, the parts that are being used in EV is close to 240 to 245. Again, it depends on vehicle to vehicle. Until last month, we were the only bike manufacturer in the EV category, and most of the other players were the scooter manufacturers. So I'm just referring to the bikes thing. Whereas if we compare that same with the IC engine, so there are more than, much more than thousands of parts are required to make a complete IC motorcycle or a scooter. So now parts have been compressed, but difficulty in procuring the parts has also risen multifold. Initially, when around 5 to 6 years back, when this EV industry started, when people came out with scooter or something like that, we came around 4 years back. Most of the kits were being imported from, say, for example, China, and they were assembled here and being sold as a product to the Indian consumers. However, as per the government of India's regulations, guidelines, and the FAME support that government is providing in terms of FAME 1 and FAME 2, localization was the key to succeed for any EV manufacturer. So to have a localized product, that means almost 100% of localization that government of India is asking for. And with that, the responsibility of every EV manufacturer becomes to source the respective EV parts from the most likely tier 1 manufacturers who are present in and around India. I would say basically in India. So as a manufacturer, when we started around 4 years back, we also started with imported kits, but immediately we started working on how to get our parts localized. So now we have tied up with all the tier 1 manufacturers who are supplying to most of the major OEMs of India to supply us the parts. Now, coming to your question of which were the parts which were most difficult. I'll be very honest with you. As we speak, getting the lithium-ion battery is the most difficult part because that is not available in India. So those parts have to be imported only, those cells part. But all the battery management systems, all the designing, whether you are using in whatever best possible way, that center has to be in-house. So we have developed that center in-house, and then we have given, as a job work to other manufacturers who gave us the combined battery. But the product is ours, because of which we are able to offer consumers double the warranty, double the life cycle as compared to other EV manufacturers. The second most difficult part, I must say, is that, motor controller was difficult. And as we speak, the charger, because ours is a 72-watt charger, which is actually a very, very difficult part to get in India. And we struggled for that charger for, I would say that almost it took us more than 18 months to get the charger developed and to our satisfaction, so that our consumers do not complain. So that was the third part, what we get was the most difficult part. Fourth part was the ECU. And the fifth part, I must say, most difficult to get here was the sound box. Generally, most of us will be surprised what is a sound as far as the EV is concerned. Yes. So, what is a motorcycle without a sound? You will not get that, that passion, that driving pleasure, that kick that youngsters want, or any age group wants. So we specially fixed a sound box that is controlled by you only. That is, you can have an option of almost 4 sounds that can come from that, depending on your mood. What is the mood that you are having? You can produce that kind of a sound, and you can silent it also. So you want to operate as without noise, you can. You want to have a feeling of an actual motorcycle, you can do that. So that also took us lots and lots of time to, get this localized in India. Last but not the least, will say my list is endless, but yes, we face those challenges. Developing the, the harness or the mainframe and subframe. EV is such a precise, and we have to ensure that it's a very, very light vehicle. It's not a heavy vehicle. We have to, ensure that weight is as per whatever norms you have submitted and committed to ARAI. So getting that frames right, even from a tier one manufacturer, which is a billions of dollar company in India, I'll not name any manufacturer here. So it was actually a challenge for us to get those parts localized in first go. They gave us a frame, never fitted. They again got a frame, never fitted, because of which our production also hampered for some times. And as you observe that many of, I will say the top 5-7 EV players have more than almost 6 months of booking with them. This is because of these challenges being faced. Now, the last and the most important point here I would wish to highlight is getting the microcontrollers or the chips, as we commonly call it as. There's a huge global shortage which every OEM is facing. Our product is basically AI-enabled product. A lot of electronics is there, a lot of electrical is there. So our microcontroller or chips are required in many, many components that we use. So there we are actually facing a huge shortage. So my tier one suppliers or my vendors who are giving the material to me, I mean, I do not blame them, but they are not able to get those parts on time, because of which either we have to pay a premium because international market goes by the premium, it's not available in India, or we have to, delay our production or reduce our production to a great extent, because of which ultimately who suffers? As an organization, we suffer. And as a consumer who has booked his bike, who has booked his vehicle, which is a dream vehicle, which is his passion, he or she suffers. So that's this is a list of probably, I'll say, the parts which I found it very challenging.
Okay. I will ask another question. How many microcontrollers are there in your motorcycle, and how compared to ICE motorcycle, how many more are there?
I think it will be more than double of ICE motorcycle, because our speedometer is AI enabled, our sound box is there that requires, our charger requires, there are so many things that require the microcontroller or chips, because of which everything is delayed.
Is it like a 20 units or 30 units? Any share?
Let it be a little confidential, but yes, it is close to that only.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to know is that many of the EV manufacturers have smaller volumes, and the parts manufacturers tend to want bigger volumes, larger volumes, and second, and visibility and assurance of volumes per month. So how do you deal with that?
Very interesting question. Mr. Rajiv, almost 200 EV players as we speak are there in now India, almost 200 EV players. And they are small, and most of them are small speed vehicle manufacturers who do not qualify under the FAME subsidy or FAME 2 subsidy, or they require ARI certification or not. I'm not too sure about that. So they can basically import the kit, whatever is possible, and they can sell it. So for them, it is not a challenge. But again, referring to top 5-7 players, where Revolt is also a part of that, the top 5-7 players. You are absolutely right. Initially, it took us a lot of time to bring tier one suppliers who are big suppliers to OEM, who deals in thousands and millions of parts being supplied to OEMs, to come on board, invest on us, because you need to have a mold, you need to have a die, you need to have a future projections, you need to understand the kind of investment you require. Say, for example, I'll talk about the light. Now, each and every vehicle manufacturer has a different kind of a light. If you look at our light, the kind of light we are giving is unique in India. No one has ever tried that design. My own in-house design center developed that. But for that, my vendor to develop that, it took him, almost 6 months. And he spent more than 2 crore rupees just to invest in that product to bring it on board. So having said that, you are absolutely right. He needs a roadmap for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, how we are going to shape up. So now what comes into place? One is that now Revolt is one of the very few organizations in EV sector which is being run by a professional, as I'm sitting in front of you. And most of the EV manufacturers are more of a owner-driven kind of platforms. Most of them, I'm not saying every one of them. And so looking at the professional, and my entire team is professional. So vendors had some kind of, confidence in us that yes, if the professionals are running who are having 25, 30, 35 years kind of an experience and who are expert in their own field and domain. So that gave them some confidence. Second was looking at the number of bookings that we had. say, for example, I have X number of bookings, which can suffice for 6 to 8 months. So they are assured of certain volumes. Third was our manufacturing capacity. So when they came, had personally visit, to identify, to look at physical verification kind of a thing, that yes, my assembly lines can produce X number of vehicles. I've got these kind of assets with me. I have got this kind of investments, this much of money to run my business. All the systems, processes are there. We are 100% compliant company, approved by ARI. Rather, I would say that ARI, we are so proud of the fact that the kind of vehicle we are giving, ARI also appreciates us. So these all things put together allowed us to bring us, tier one manufacturers, where I'm also aware, because I have so many friends in the industry. Many of the EV vehicle manufacturers are still struggling to get good vendors or good auto component manufacturers on board.
Right. Mr. Prasad, I would like to now share your thoughts. You spoke about you work with a lot of startups, and unlike Mr. Anand, who has more volumes, many of these are at a much more earlier stage. So you can share your experience of what kind of people, what kind of customers you have, and what they want from you.
Sure. I'm pretty sure Anandji would agree that until they figured out their product market fit, they still had a lot of problems having a trusted vendor. Even though they proved everything, they still could not rely on somebody who they could basically trust and go ahead and do their supply chain deal with them. So the kind of customers we have, about 10 plus EV slash battery manufacturers that we are working with on, like currently we have, but we have over 20-25 companies that we have worked with so far. It varies from anybody who is trying to make their proof of concept, like they're trying to build parts. It can be panels, it can be their structural chassis, it can be anything from the motor that they want to procure for their vehicle, to wheels, to anything. So we have those sort of companies coming to us. At the same time, we have companies who are ready for their production, 10,000 units a year, 15,000 units a year, so on and so forth. And we have just started ramping up those sort of orders at our end. Not every company, even though they have product market fit, they have everything that requires them to step up to that production range, can afford a tier one supplier. There are big issues when it comes to cell procurement. I'm pretty sure anybody who is trying to build their EV, the heart of their EV is battery, and 40 to 50% of their total cost is invested in a battery. And India is extreme. Not just India, I guess most of the world is completely dependent on China, Taiwan for this, and that's where we have started our ways that we can solve. So we are in the process of building a distribution supply chain for batteries. We have developed contacts with OEMs in China and Taiwan, and we have a project that we are working on currently where this problem will be solved. We have kind of 3 phases that we have developed internally, and trying to solve the battery problem, because once the battery problem is solved, major issue is taken care of. After that, based on the kind of vehicle it's the company is trying to build, they have different parts that they can focus and procure. But again, our major interest or goal is to make sure that we have everything locally supplied to the EV manufacturer, so that we don't have any sort of a dependency. And we have to kind of fall for the schedule, like Anandji was talking. I mean, even everything is ready, you have the money, you have people who want to buy it, but you have a dependency which is not giving you an opportunity to deliver your vehicle for your customer. So that's this biggest thing that we want to solve at this point in time.
Right. Both of you spoke that battery is the biggest part that is need to be sourced. And can you describe that? What do the customers want? Do they want NMC battery? Do they want LFP battery? I mean, what are the parameters that people look for when they're sourcing batteries? And both qualitatively and also quantitatively, is it the pricing is hard? Is the volumes are harder? I mean, what is this? What is it?
Yeah, again, it depends on at the stage any company is at. For somebody who is already rolling their product out, I feel pricing will not be a big factor for them. I'm not saying that they will be ready to shell out anything that the OEM asks for, but they won't try to negotiate with say 25-30 cents a cell. Whereas when you're talking about a company who is just trying to make say 10 pieces of their vehicle just to prove they have traction that they can build so that they can attract investors, they can attract consumers, etc. Of course, it's a big problem. Not big players of lithium-ion cells will like to, source you like say 5,000 cells. They don't want to do something of that quantity. And schedule is a big problem again. And then the timeline of you ordering a cell and you getting it is probably 3 months, if I'm not wrong. There are other aspects such as quality is another big deal. When you do your cell sorting, you have to make sure that at least you have an average average quality that all this cell that comes to you. So even that is a major problem.
Mr. Anand, do you have to check for the cell quality yourself, or do you rely on your supplier to ensure that?
Actually, like I shared with you, we are one of the very rare or very few companies in India who have their own BMS center. We have our own BMS R&D center in Bangalore. That is company's in-house center. So my team does that job. We always check the quality, which of course we cannot check it 100%, but it's a sample basis that whatever lot we get, and basis that we give it to our person who does the packing job for us. And having said that, yes, the entire quality control, the design, every dynamics is under our control. So that is why, like Mr. Ghosh I shared with you, most of the organizations in EV industry offer a warranty on battery for 3 years, but we offer it for 6 years. So that is the kind of trust, double the average industry norm, I would say that. So this is the kind of trust we have because of the BMS being in-house, and entire thing, as you mentioned, Mr. Ghosh, checked internally.
But the cell, whether the cells have the right voltage and everything, those things are checked by by your supplier. You don't have to do another level of testing at your end, right?
Yeah, first level of testing we do it, but then second level of testing is done at the supplier. Once he gives us the finished good, he gives it to us. And since he does only for us, so it's basically an outsourced kind of a thing. Our extended arm, I can say that he's our partner, kind of a partner.
And what is the kind of localization that the government needs you to have to give you the FAME 2 subsidies? And is that also increasing that threshold?
To the best understanding and my knowledge, government is asking for 100%. So, and they have only given the a benefit of these cells only, or the battery, you can say that is allowed because they are aware those cells are not available in India. Rest every part has to be localized, and it has to you have to get it audited, checked by ARAI. You have to give a certificate, you have to give a declaration, you have to give all the supportings. So it's a proper legal ethical job that every organization has to do in terms of localization. Otherwise you cannot claim the FAME subsidy.
Mr. Prasad, how difficult it is to claim the FAME subsidy? And we hear the paperwork is also quite intense.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, it's pretty hard to explain all of those to a startup company. We have to not only make sure that we get everything that we want in the right timeline, but with all these documentation process, it's the whole thing is lucrative. And I feel different states have different percentage in terms of how they actually provide these subsidies. I guess some of them charge you like 80% if you have everything manufactured inside the state. They give you a subsidy. They have an advance subsidy. And then, but of course, at the end, the total interest of India is, of course, going to be to see everything manufactured here locally in India.
Okay. And how big is the cost factor in terms of procurement? Are you, Mr. Anand, worried a lot on the cost part, or I mean, how big is the cost factor?
Sorry, can you repeat your question? Probably I missed the first line.
How significant is the cost of the parts in your in the scheme of things? Is the price of the parts a major challenge, because that's what normally is for the ICE vehicles?
Mr. Ghosh very rightly mentioned the BOM cost that we call bill of material is actually a big challenge for us at this stage, because had government, central government and the state governments not supporting the EV industry, it would have been difficult for the EV industry to survive, because currently our BOM cost is more than our selling price. So I would not go into any significant or more details, but as a broad ballpark number, I can give you broadly. So in order to be successful in India, and the kind of drive that government is having and the kind of incentives and support that government is provided, we are, as EV manufacturers, we are really thankful to government. Otherwise, till the time we are not able to bring a BOM cost, which all the EV manufacturers, I'm pretty confident, must be working on, because as the localization is increasing and improving, the cost is coming down. When the cost, say for example, was 2x when we started manufacturing, currently it is at 1.3, 1.4x. That is the 60% reduction we have done. But again, a long way to go, because these parts are way too costly. I can just give you an example that the BOM is more than our selling price.
So where is the direction where these BOM costs are going? I mean, you have already saw 60% reduction, but where is the further scope?
Yeah, the further scope is definitely going to come when our scale increases, because I'll give you an example. Say for example, we are making 100 vehicles a month, and say for example, we plan to, and this is our capacity, then we plan to have another facility, another manufacturing unit where my capacity will increase to say 10x, or maybe from 100 to 1000. And then probably when the scale comes, then these all tier one vendors or all the major suppliers of components, definitely they also need economies of scale. So that's when it's going to come down. Second, when this cells cost, lithium cells cost is reducing, at a great speed. What it used to be earlier, almost 20 to 30% reduction has already happened in those cells cost. And now if the trend is towards downward only, if we are able to, get some kind of technology in India, or these cell manufacturers who are in China, Vietnam, or some part of Northern America, they reduce the price of this as the availability increases, then certainly the cost will go down. But just to share with you, the battery cost is a huge, or I must say very significant cost as far as the EV is concerned. It's more than 40%. I can just give you a ballpark number. So that was the only reason, Mr. Ghosh and Mr. Narasimha, that we gave a warranty of 6 years to our customers, so that they do not feel the pinch. Because after 3 years, if your battery goes for a toss, for example, then you tend to spend almost 40 to 50% of the bike cost in the battery itself. And that should not, hamper our customers who are so passionate about EV now.
Mr. Prasad, how are you trying to get the cost right for your customers?
See, with cells, like I said before, there is no distribution here in India. There is no distribution supply chain at all. Everybody who wants to get, their lithium-ion cells either need to go to Taiwan, China, or Vietnam, and that is a place where, like Anand sir was saying, the volume basically is the deal breaker there, and the volume is not everybody's piece. They cannot really negotiate based off of volume. So what we are trying to do is making sure that the distribution here in India is taken care of. So once people can actually get order cells here in India and get cells here in India, that's where at least the distribution aspect of it is going to bring a significant reduction in the price. So you don't necessarily have to stick to OEM in China and try to plead him, wait for the time frame that he's going to tell you that he's going to ship the cell for you, and all of those things is going to be completely taken off once we have a solid distribution supply chain built here internally in India.
Anything else, that can be done? Is there a scope for a consortium approach, working together, that you guys can do?
With respect to?
When you are dealing with startups, can we have 5 startups sourcing together?
Sure. Yeah, we have come across companies who basically have a similar approach. What they do is, that basically solves their volume problem, right? Like if there are 5 different companies who are doing two-wheelers and there are a few parts which are constant in their bill of materials, what they try to do is they put together, their volume is increased, their need is basically the same. So that is one of the things that is happening already. I am aware of 4 to 5 companies who are doing that, where their supply chain is interlinked. They have a common platform that they have developed for their entire supply chain. So that is, of course, a cost reduction or reducing factor. But I strongly feel that a lot of manufacturers in India have to be ramped up for the increase in demand as well. Many of them, what they do is the cost of the individual parts are very high, is because like Anand sir was talking about, if they want to develop a tool and basically use that tool only for one particular vendor, one particular client, it just eats them up. Like the amount of money that they have to invest to sustain their entire the business for that particular product is going to be so expensive on their end. So I think that aspect of pushing manufacturers with their abilities is also very important. That can significantly drop down the prices.
Okay. Can the government do anything different in terms of helping the parts being localized? Is there something that the government too can do?
In my opinion, government is, as it is, pushing many good things. Like they came up with PLI also, and which is a huge investment that our finance minister announced. And now the government is also giving lots of subsidy to the manufacturing part. But as far as the auto component industry is concerned, I think that industry itself has to evolve. Government is offering, various. All the states are offering what you say, various different kind of EV policy. Like yesterday, I was talking to a couple of southern states like Karnataka government or the Tamil Nadu government or the Gujarat government, UP government. They are coming out with their own EV policies where they are offering a place to manufacture EV. Like we can go and open up our unit or a plant there. Similarly, they are offering similar kind of subsidy and a great support, certain tax-free things and certain reduced cost loans, subsidies, and all those things, so that EV manufacturing can be encouraged in their particular state also. And also government is working very strongly to ensure that even their fleets become EV as soon as possible. And for those people who are from Delhi, they must be aware that now Delhi government recently announced that all these Swiggy and Zomato, they have to have the 50% of their bikes as an EV only, as their unit as EV only, which is again a positive move. And many food chains or many delivery people have joined hands with us, where we are supplying thousands and thousands of bikes to them, because the EV is the way forward. And this is being supported by state and central government both.
and when you are doing something new, like making the parts, EV parts, which is whether it's a controller or the battery pack, the quality could be a significant challenge, and the process itself could be not optimized both. So, what are you guys doing to what are you what are you guys seeing in terms of how are people solving for that? Whether and how much does the OEM support the supplier in this case?
See, I'll tell you, as an OEM, I can tell you, maybe Mr. Narasimha can add more value to it. As an OEM, what we have to do is that, first of all, to start with, we have to give them a drawing. Everything starts from the paperwork. So once we give them the drawing, which is, various stages, L2, L3, L4, of course, it's a technical term, but might interest to some of our audience. When we release the drawing, and then, the advantage with OEMs, especially the OEMs which are little big, is that their R&D center is in-house. So their entire team of, like, I have more than 40 people who are day in, day out work on this development of parts, drawing, and increasing the strength of the parts with the vendors. So we as an OEM need to handhold the vendor, because this is something new for them also. They were not used to this kind of a thing, apart from the metallic parts or the frame and all, which they have been manufacturing for ICE vehicles also. But of course, your design and everything is different. And then the prototype comes, and then the testing comes, everything, then the feasibility study comes. So OEM has to handhold the vendor till the time your part becomes perfect. But would you believe it, Mr. Ghosh and Mr. Narasimha, that our team has to sit sometimes 24 hours at the shop floor of the biggest of bigger, you name, in the auto component industry, or billions of dollar turnover, to make sure that they make the right part. And we have to send our vehicles there, so that immediate fitment is done, immediate testing is done, immediate feedback can be given. That a typical approach has been reduced, that, you send me the part, I'll test it, my 10 departments will verify it. Instead of that, I'll send my 10 departments to the shop floor, because end of the day, actual works happen at the Gampa, not at your place. So that's how it's a big time that our OEMs like us support vendors to develop. But once it gets developed, then there is no stopping.
Okay. And is this this kind of effort required even in ICE vehicles, or that is sorted? It's already done sometime back at the front.
ICE is sorted.
Okay.
ICE is sorted long back.
Right.
That's a matured industry, I'll say that.
Okay. Any final closing comments from Mr. Prasad and Mr. Anand?
Sure. Well, I feel just when Anand sir was talking about the the kind of hand-holding thing that they need to do with manufacturers to get their product out, I feel that's where companies like Procurable is trying to help clients or EV manufacturers. I'm pretty sure that when you are sending your team to go sit with your manufacturer on the shop floor, you need an expertise to say, okay, this is the direction I take, or this is the direction I take, this is the decision I'm going to make in my design, or whatever, for that example. So that decision-making criteria is pretty almost absent. I feel that skill set is, not there in many of the starting new EV manufacturers or companies that wants to manufacture an electric vehicle. So the decision-making capability is where I feel that there should be a significant improvement in what companies do when they come to that stage where they basically have to work and get their part taken off from their manufacturer. And having people who have already done something with respect to that sort of a product before, they will probably be aware of what is the right direction to take, and that is going to decrease the amount of time that you take from a design to a production.
Okay. Right. And are you seeing progress in that area?
Well, I see what we have been doing right now is we have a few industry experts, what we call, who basically is going to help us, make decisions for different projects. For example, maybe choosing an existing part just to prove their concept. Instead of reinventing the wheel, designing your own part, developing it, using a 3D printer, and then trying to invest a lot of money into a part which you are not sure of whether you want to pursue it for a longer run or not. That's where I feel there is some sort of an improvisation when they have directioners, what I call. And of course, it's a growing industry. So every day you learn, every day you make mistakes, and then you just pick up the best possible solution for your product.
Okay, Mr. Anand, your concluding remarks.
I think Mr. Ghosh and Mr. Narasimha very rightly summarized and very rightly mentioned by both of you that yes, future in terms of India, because we are our own captive consumption is too huge. We are almost 140 crores or maybe more. I do not have the exact numbers. And the kind of two-wheelers that we sell in India or produce in India, I would say, is almost 1.3 crores per annum. And this number fluctuates, of course, depending on the demand and supply. But the future, I must say, because the pollution is hampering as a country, India a big time. And that is why the government has taken this initiative and drive for the last maybe 4 to 5 years to promote EV in a big time. So I would also say that now most of us should start working on what in this budget also our honorable finance minister announced that battery swapping technology or the process or the manufacturers should work together to get this going, because that is the key to success. Charging a battery of a two-wheeler, although I would say that at this point of time, two-wheeler industry does not require a huge charging infrastructure, which a four-wheeler or a six-wheeler or a higher category of vehicle requires. But still, most of the manufacturers are not providing that kind of a battery solutions to the consumers, because battery is fixed. The consumer has to either take his two-wheeler to a nearby charging point, or he has to put that charger along with the electric socket to charge the battery or find a charging unit. And herein again, many of the manufacturers should apply their mind and provide a customized kind of a solution to a consumer. Because today, on an average, most of the EVs last between 120 to 150 kilometers within one full charge. Like we provide up to 150 kilometers. And going forward, this, of course, this is going to increase. But solution to battery should be there. Like as a Revolt, what we have done is our battery is swappable. Right. That means you just open the bonnet, sort of bonnet or a fuel tank, whatever you call it in the ICE industry, take out the battery, take it to your office, take it to your shop, take it to your house, take it to your charging point, and you can charge it anywhere. In addition to charging in a normal way, where you can park your bike and then charge it with any proper charging unit.
So you're saying that using swapping as a solution could help?
Yes, swapping as a solution certainly help, which Revolt is already working on. We have taken the lead in the entire EV industry, which is again our USP, I must say that.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Prasad and Mr. Anand, for sharing your thoughts. And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Thank you, Mr. Prasad. And thank you, Mr. Manish.
Thank you, Anandji.
Thank you.
And thank you, Crescendo team.